Welcome to the Heallist Podcast, where we inspire and guide healers through business expansion. We give voice to incredibly abundant healers to share their stories. We dive into the quantum field to unlock the energies of conscious creation. We also develop digital tools to help you grow, which you can find on Heallist.com. I'm your host, Yuli, and I'm grateful you chose to join this space. Now let's go deep. Hello, my dear friends. This is another solo episode of the Heallist Podcast, and I love doing those once in a while just to get back in touch with you and share about all the incredible things that's going on behind the scenes at Heallist and my life, all the learnings and growth opportunities. I love sharing those with you. And today I have so many updates and experiences to share with you. And the big one is our Healers Exchange, which was a big event we just hosted with Heallist at the Greenpoint Loft, which is in Brooklyn, New York, on October 10th, just last week. And I really wanted to record this episode right after the event when I still have those fresh memories. I'm still glowing from all the amazing energy that was received in that event. So I would love to share some of the behind the scenes of the event, my impression, part of the planning process, which was really interesting for me and another growth opportunity. I also want to share with you some of my latest teachers and conferences that I attended and some of the groups I'm part of to share my own spiritual journey with you, which I love doing once in a while. So it's going to be a packed episode. So we're going to start with Healers Exchange, and I'm going to talk about my work with some incredible teachers, including Lynne, McTaggart, Bruce Lipton, just to name a few. Of course, my all-time favorite, Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe is my spiritual father. And I want to talk more in depth about my work with these teachers and the amazing TCCHE conference that I attended recently in Toronto as well. So there's a lot that I want to share with you. So please stay for this episode if you're interested in my journey, in a journey of Heallist, in the healing space in general, business side especially. And I'm going to dive right in. So let's start with the Healers Exchange. It was really, I can't possibly describe the magic that was created in that event, bringing together such a large group of healers. For me, it was probably one of the largest group of professional working practitioners and healers that I've been part of. We had about 80 people coming from all different parts of the country, majority obviously from the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area, but people also were flying in from Florida and the Midwest. And it was really encouraging to see this demand for the in-person community events of this scale, and definitely just to kind of save the surprise from the end. And so my takeaways, we're definitely going to be coming back. I think that 1010 is our new portal that we created, and we would love to continue this tradition if all logistics, of course, can work out. But I think we need those experiences, the in-person community uniting at least once a year, if not more. We hope to take this experience to other locations as well. I think we're onto something really big with this format. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about the format as well, because it's really, it was a one-day event, but I can't even tell you how many months, if not years, it's been kind of playing rehearsal, the mental rehearsal in my head, and how many kind of tweaks and iterations that mental rehearsal has been through in order to produce this really perfectly flowing, magical day for everyone and start this tradition. And I couldn't imagine a better audience for that. It was just really the perfect mix of people. And, it's much needed these days. This is what I'm realizing. And this is the mission, right? And as much as Heallist, it's an online platform when we have our amazing software that hopefully you all can check out as well, that really powers the entire practice for healers and takes care of all those admins to free up our space to actually heal people. But really part of our mission is the community as well. And it's really crucial in this time as the healing space is still emerging and healers are still being positioned in this, I would say, health care or industry for a lack of, or wellness industry, right? We don't know really where we belong. We're kind of like in between, because a lot of you healers that are listening to this, you actually heal people from some major diseases. So we are technically part of the healthcare industry, but we also kind of dance on the line of wellness and well-being and mental health. So this industry is still shaping, it's still emerging, and it's such a range and such a variety of modalities. But that's why it's so important to not just stick together, but come together for those moments when we can really shape our future and we can help the society to define who we are and what we stand for. And it's such an important times because, as you know, people are suffering all over the world, between the climate events that we're experiencing, like just here this last week, 2 major hurricanes that left millions of people completely powerless. Healers are needed. I see healers as first responders in this kind of environment, right? Because outside of the physical help, of course, that we need to provide to those people, the PTSD and the deep healing that needs to happen in those communities and those populations, we can't possibly rely on, the psychologists or the traditional kind of mental health workers with this kind of scale. So healers are going to be needed more and more, especially in those populations. And this is, by the way, another reason we decided to launch the Heallist Foundation, which we just announced at our event last week officially. We want to help underserved communities. We want to bring healing to them, and we want to find healers in those communities we help perhaps with scholarships or any training so they can go back to those communities and heal from within, from the inside. This is really the mission, and I couldn't find a better person to run it. My dear friend, Christine Carey, who has deep experience in nonprofits, will be running it, and we're just getting up to speed, but there will be more news on that coming soon. And I'm just so passionate to have finally kind of all the pieces of the Heallist vision are coming together. And it's just such a, it makes me emotional to watch all of this actually unfolds in reality. But between building the online platform, building all the digital tools and software, creating those community events, whether virtual or in person, and then also having this nonprofit arm that is really there to serve those communities. I mean, I just couldn't ask for more. And there's obviously more ideas in the pipeline, but this is an incredible foundation for a business or organization that is mission-driven, that has all the components and really a true dream for me and hopefully many healers in the world. So back to the Healers Exchange event, because this is where really, again, we also are an opportunity for us to connect with our community and share some of those ideas that we are standing for, but also an opportunity to practice what we preach, right? And for us, it's really the combination of business and healing. This is what we stand for. This is what I'm really passionate to bringing into this community. All of my experience as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, as a technologist. How can we bring all those amazing tools and bridge those two communities together, right? How can we bridge the financial community with healers? How can we bridge the technology community with healers? Because this is what this community needs most. So when I was thinking about creating this big event that is surely one of many, and just to clarify, we did have another Healers Exchange earlier this year, back in January, here up in the Hudson Valley where I'm located. It was a much smaller scale, and it was really kind of a great way to test this concept of bringing healers together to exchange services. We didn't have as much of an educational component as we did this time, but that really kind of what gave me, it was another magical day. And that's what really confirmed the vision and gave me kind of my internal permission to proceed and scale it. But really, I couldn't imagine doing it all myself. And probably my old self would be a typical behavior for me to just try and put together this event all by myself and really stretch myself and make it entirely about kind of us running it. But I knew better this time. And this is what I used to do in my previous business, because when I was working within the fashion and the digital industries, we used to put together these huge events in New York City for about 500 people called Fashion 2.0. And that was like our idea to bridge technology and fashion industries together. And they're hugely successful, but I felt really, really spent and stretched thin and really miserable, to be honest, during those events, because there was just so much responsibility that was falling on me to run all event logistics, to attend to all the guests, to make sure our mission was integrated and all of that. There was a lot of VIPs, a lot of celebrities were coming, a lot of big clients. It was just so much pressure, and I would never enjoy those events. Everyone else will enjoy them, but me, I would look at those beautiful photos and I will always reminiscent on those moments like that. I was so caught up with all the stress of running an event, and I actually couldn't enjoy myself. So with this business, part of my journey is to do things differently and really have that balance of not just my personal, being aware of my personal well-being and joy and happiness, but also have a better work-life balance with this business. And then also share the magic, share the space with other collaborators and partners. And it's really something that I'm practicing very consciously in this business, because I don't think I can build the vision as big as it is without bringing on board amazing people and sharing the space with them. So that's why I had the idea to build an event committee for the Healers Exchange. And I was just so fortunate to find 15 individuals that are all their close friends or practitioners that I got close with over the recent years, and to bring them on board as kind of part of this planning committee, part of being advisors and just running ideas by them, tapping into their networks. It was just really such a beautiful experience working with them over the past 3 months to bring them closer into that process. And what it did for me emotionally and physically and spiritually, it really removed that weight from my shoulders that this is my event and everything is on me. And it was just a really profound experience for me to understand, okay, it's possible to produce those big events and have others supporting, and then having others kind of sharing some of the responsibility and some of the weight, right, of creating this big container and hosting all these people and making sure that everyone is taken care of. So I was just very fortunate and blessed to have all these incredible committee members part of this experience that were really, for the 3 months leading to the event, they were a big part of the process. And obviously during the event, many of them had a moment to either feature a practice or guide a small group. So it was really beautiful to be able to create this exchange also with the committee members, to shine a spotlight on them and then have their support energetically of the event. So, and then another thing that I wanted to bring and for this particular experience was some incredible speakers to really inspire our audience and really find people who, again, bridge those two different areas They they understand the business of healing and wellness, and they work with practitioners and familiar with the struggle and challenges. But they also deeply grounded in the business world of things, whether by working with entrepreneurs or small business owners or just themselves building great businesses. So that's really my criteria for speakers and people that we work with. And, it was really interesting that this podcast actually turned to be a great tool to build a network of people like that, of individuals that really fall within this criteria. So it was pretty easy to go back and look back at the speakers and see who would be a fit, who would be available, and who would really inspire our audience on this day. So we ended up starting with this beautiful manifestation workshop by the incredible Jen Mazer, who's the queen of manifestation. Check out one of the most recent episodes with Jen. She's just really, I love her energy, her passion. She's probably the most uplifting person I've ever met. And just a joy to be around. And her workshop just set the tone for the entire day. Then we had the incredible Jacquette Timmons, which was one of my interviews from almost a year ago, also who did a financial wellness workshop. And she's an incredible financial behaviorist who works a lot with small business owners in the wellness and holistic industry, particularly as well. And she just really, I think, changed a lot of or reframed a lot of the mindset around profitability in the healing business. And I really hope that message resonated. I know it did with some of our attendees, and it was another huge hit. And then the last workshop that we did was a marketing challenge. And, for this one, it was a little tricky for me to find a speaker because I come from a marketing background. I have a lot of friends in this industry, but they don't necessarily understand the challenges of healers to be able to market themselves authentically. And when I was talking to Phoebe Leona, who's another great partner and friend, and someone I met also through interviewing on a podcast, being on her podcast as well, and just working in partnership for the past few months, she has an incredible company called the Nomad Collective, which is also a community for retreat leaders and hosts. And she just has such a unique view on marketing because she helps retreat leaders to market their retreats and sell out and build it as a profitable business. And I think she brought some really incredible insights and did some really great exercises to expand that capacity to promote ourselves, right? To work through some of those blocks. And it was really one of the most beautiful workshops that also resonated so much with our audience. And then we had the most nutritious, delicious, locally produced lunch by another dear friend here from the Hudson Valley, Yuli Chang, who treated us to her creation. So it was really this beautiful collaboration of all this amazing partners and that I met in the space in the past few years, kind of it all came together. And it was just so beautiful to watch. And I think that's why this event was really, I would say, one of the first events that I produced that I was able to also enjoy and be present at every moment and actually feel the magic of it while being part of it. And it was just such an incredible experience, but it's because every single person who was part of it, we had a connection. They were deeply connected to the event and they were supporting it energetically with me. They weren't there just to do their job or appearance and just move on. They were deeply engaged in the process, and it was just such a great learning. Again, I keep coming back to it, but it was just really profound experience for me. For someone who's a type A, a lone entrepreneur for most of my life, just working with incredible people, just okay, I can understand, I can enjoy this business, I can enjoy producing these big events as much as it was stressful and it was a lot of work. And I did end up running myself down a little bit and losing my voice on the day off. You can still hear a little bit of that. And that was my personal lesson. I had this long checklist of things that needed to be done for the event. And my personal health was not on that checklist. So it was a big lesson for me. I need to make sure that I'm actually in full working order next time as well. But, I had on the morning off when I woke up and I didn't know how I'm going to do this day because I was just so, depleted physically. But there is I call it like a generator that kicks in or something that happens. There's like external energy boost that really lasted a whole day and saved me through this experience, which was also kind of amazing to witness, to know that, your mind, your body, your spirit can power through in the most difficult situations, even when you think, okay, there's like absolutely, on the physical level, how am I going to function? But there is something that kicks in inside of us in those important moments that just like powers through. And luckily I had a lot of great opportunity to rest and recharge since then. But all this energy that I received on that day, really, I'm still glowing from it. And, the biggest portion of it was the Healers Exchange, of course. And that was our afternoon. And we were working in small groups, guided again by the guides and from the guiding committee and amazing practitioners that were on board as part of this whole process. And, I went so much back and forth on the format and the framework and how we're going to do it, how we're going to make sure every person is happy with their experience. They give and receive services and everyone is matched properly. So my type A self, the original idea was to maybe create this big spreadsheet and try to match people or have them sign up for workshops or pre-select who they're going to work with. I mean, there were so many different ideas. And at the end, and this is kind of like what we tried in the very first Healers Exchange that we did back in the winter time. And at the end of the day, at that particular event, people just mostly end up doing different things and whatever they wanted. So that kind of learned me to maybe let go and maybe trust the universe and the divine intervention that the people that's supposed to be together and supposed to exchange healings, they're going to find each other. I don't need to use my analytical brain to try to create an algorithm to perfectly match a group of 80 people to make sure all of them are happy and receive exactly the same amount as they give and so on. It makes me laugh, sorry. But really, and this is what happened in the end, that I'm not going to go into depth into the framework we created, but it was just like enough guidance to create some order, right? Some coherence, but then kind of also surrender and let it go and let the process take over and let the flow kind of make sure that if people are supposed to be together, they are together. The services that were supposed to be exchanged, that everyone got whatever they needed. There was a purpose in every person being in a group with each other, and just kind of let it go and surrender and also trust that there is divine intervention there, that it doesn't matter how much we plan and try to decide those groups and who's with who. At the end of the day, there is a bigger force that's going to make those choices for us. So it was just beautiful to witness how magically it actually worked. And of course, I still had a plan B and C in place that people are maybe not happy with their selections or choices. And I didn't need any of the plan B or C because everything worked just as it was supposed to. It still makes me emotional because it was just beautiful. And I kept walking around and making sure that, still everyone is happy, everyone is getting what they need. And I didn't see one person who needed help. I was disappointed or lost. It was just really magical to see this large group of people arranging themselves in a way, or again, some forces arranging them in a way that everyone had a transformative experience. In those 2-3 hours in the afternoon, everyone got exactly what they needed. And I know that because at the end, after some also empowering group practices, we got to do a big sharing circle and just to hear the experiences from all the attendees and what that day meant for them. and what they felt. It was just so incredibly empowering and so reassuring that this format works, that we need to bring together healers. We need to exchange more healings with each other, not just with our clients, because the healer needs the healing as well. And definitely reconfirm that we need to be back with those experiences in more places. So I just wanted to share all of that because I know many of you didn't make it to the event from different reasons. It was also a first big event, and I understand sometimes people have hesitations for things that they were never done, they never heard of. They're not sure if it's worth their investment, whether it's time or financial investment or just energy. And I think this day really, and we're going to be sharing more photos and videos from the event, this day really solidified in everyone that this vision works and it's much needed. So we will be back. And, I'm just to reflect on that, going to this event, my goal was to really attract the right people to this experience and not to try to sell people on this idea because it was a little challenging. Even for me, who's an experienced marketer, to market something that hasn't been done before in this format and this scale was difficult because we couldn't show examples, we couldn't show testimonials, we couldn't show beautiful videos of what it's going to look like. We had to ask people to trust our vision and just come and see it's going to be worth your time. And it's not always easy. And at the end of the day, I was just praying to attract the right people who just trust the vision enough to be there. And they will have some internal calling, right? It might be not a rational decision, but they would know that they're supposed to be there in that day and time. So that was my intention. And it was incredible to see the group of people that did show up, which was extremely, first of all, very diverse. So many amazing men, so many people, young, old. It was really probably one of the most diverse group of healers I've seen. And, the common theme, the common thread among many of them which was really one of my biggest insights from that day, also on the business level, a lot of the people were still in transition into being full-time healers. There was a lot of professionals from all different industries, from advertising, finance, legal. There were people that were lawyers that are looking to become healers. What a wonderful time we live in. It's just really incredible and really kind of solidified in me this idea for Heallist that we're there to support these people in transition because it's not easy. And these people are finding themselves with incredible careers, right? With in many cases, with really impressive salaries and compensation packages, especially people that live in New York City. There's a certain lifestyle that you're used to. And all of a sudden they find themselves, whether they go through an awakening, a personal experience, or sometimes trauma, they discover their own healing capacity. And they just cannot go back to their old life. And I know it because I've been in that space. And it's hard because you're asked to, in a way, to forego everything you've built so far, all of this, the successful career, the abundance that you've created, all this checklist that our society kind of introduced to us early on. And you've achieved that. And now you're asked to step on a path that is absolutely unknown, has not proven to bring abundance to many people for sure, is not a traditional career path. It's still in the society something that is questioned and labeled in different ways that are not always flattering. And they need support and they need help in that transition from their other careers to this full-time healer career. And this is really one of our missions, and it really crystallized so much for me. And I love to support those people because I can relate to them so much. I was a high-achieving entrepreneur living the New York City life, and and going through all those stages. So it was just beautiful. Sometimes, we create those experiences. We don't know why. I didn't know why this event was important in so many ways, but this was definitely such an important insight for me that was crystal clear. This is something we should be addressing. And so we're going to be creating more offerings to support this kind of audience as well. But I just wanted to tell you, anyone who is listening now and can resonate with this phase of life, this stage of awakening, you're not alone. There's so many people like you that are going through this exact experience right now and trying to figure out a new path. Okay. And it's going to be getting more and more clear as we go in this age of awakening that we're still just on a cusp off, and some of us are still integrating some of these awakening experiences that we're having. But there will be more businesses to support you. We're going to be one of them for sure. We already are. But most importantly, you're not alone. There's many, many people on this planet. I'm sure if there's so many of them are in New York area, there are more around the world. I know that. So find your community, find your tribe, come to our events. Even, if you're not able to come to New York City, we're going to be doing another one next year, maybe another location in the meantime, but come to our virtual circles. We host them on every second Tuesday of the month, 12 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. And we connect with our global community, and we have people come from all parts of the world. We had somebody from Greece, from Lebanon, from all parts of US, from Germany. So come and join this even virtual community, even for an hour every month, just to ground yourself in that vision more, that healing can become a career path that is respectable. It can make you abundant, just as abundant as some of your other professions. And we're creating it. We're creating the shift as we move together. And doing it in community is just so much more powerful and creates that support system for you. So that's my message. And then in addition, and speaking of community, as much as I love my Heallist community, and we're just growing so much, we're almost reaching 1,000 healers in 30 plus countries in the world at this point. And it's just been such a beautiful community to watch. But I love being part of other communities that support me in different ways, that can support me professionally and personally. And one of them that I wanted to share with you, and is really one of the most profound experiences for me this year in terms of my own personal growth and spiritual growth, is being one of the Power of 8 group members that an incredible teacher, Lynne McTaggart, created. And I was really drawn to sign up for her Masterclass, which she runs once a year. That started back in February and runs for the entire year. And, Lynne is one of my idols because she is one of the very few, if not the only one, women in that spiritual science field. And she's done remarkable work. If you're not familiar with her, go grab her books. Power of 8 is one of them. The Field is one of her original bestsellers. And then there's also The Intention Experiment. Really mind-blowing work, especially for those of you who have that analytical scientific brain and want to see some studies that have been done on anything from remote healing, power of intention. Really must read and read some of her interviews. So Lynne is my idol. I was called to take her masterclass this year, and I'm so glad I did. As part of the masterclass, outside of teaching her deep work on setting intentions, which it comes down to the science, and she tested all of the things she teaches. It was tested with some really legit institutions, and she gives you some really practical tips how to set intention that really make a huge difference that you probably won't find in many of her books. So you have to sign up for one of her courses. But outside of that, she also puts you together with complete random strangers in groups of 8. And those strangers come from all over the world. And I think part of the masterclass was like hundreds of people this year. So she creates those random groups of 8 or 10 people that you work as a group for the rest of the year. And I have to tell you, first of all, I got so fortunate of getting my little group of really angels. And we've been working together like it's our job, basically holding intentions for each other. We meet once a week. It's Mondays, and it's really like a work meeting for me. And we alternate intentions every week. We have a whole system in place, of course, that I created. But it's been really one of the most like miraculous things that I witnessed in this space when it comes to like remote healing or holding energy. It's really, I can't even, we actually keep track of all the miracles that we're creating because we want to document that. And Lynne asks us to document it. But from people just getting instant healing, just from us, the small group of people just holding the same intention for, about 10 minutes each time. So we're able to do 3 intentions every week, actually. We're super productive. And we're able from physical healings and people having really immediate relief to anything from business healings. Just from my personal experience, like one of the most remarkable stories that I can share is we had a little bit of a roadblock with one of the Heallist features, and my team worked for months to develop this integration with this very important partner. And when the time got to finally get an approval to go live, all of a sudden we got this really intense request for paperwork that was really impossible to complete because we didn't comply with many of the things that were requested from us. So basically, I was faced with this reality that we just spent all this months of work and time to try to integrate this new, very important feature that will bring our platform to people in many countries that we couldn't support at that point. And I was faced with this reality that there's no way we're not complied with many of the requirements. And there was really no business way to solve it. I already tried all of my business ways to go around it. And the partners I was working with on the business side, they tried their best. And really there was no way to get out of it. And I finally brought it to this group and I said, listen, this is a very important partnership and integration that we need to push through. I have no way to solve it in this 3D world. I would like for us to hold the intention. And I'm talking to you about that point. It's been months of work and back and forth, right? After holding the intention within 48 hours, that's how long it took. I got an email from my partners saying that they decided to grant an exception and approve our partnership. And there was absolutely no logical or reasonable. They didn't give me the details why. And it's a big company, so it was surprising that they will make such an exception, right? It blew my mind because I know it was the Power of 8 group. There was no other way that it could have worked. So this has been my experience. And of course, there's more to that. And I'm not going to share all the details of what exactly, it does. And I highly recommend checking out Lynne's work. And if you can join one of those masterclasses next year when she launches it next, I highly recommend. It's going to change your life. And I was actually able to meet Lynne last month at the incredible TCCHE conference, which stands for the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution, which is really one of my maybe favorite or most profound conferences that I attended, that I really felt like the people in the room were my tribe, my kind of people. And I would love to connect more with that conference and the audience. They bring together amazing speakers. On this one, it was Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Lynne McTaggart, Anita Moorjani, Michael Beckwith. I mean, I can just have a whole other episode on this conference, which maybe I should. But I was actually able to meet Lynne. And the interesting story about getting to that conference also, I didn't think I would be able to attend it. I actually looked at it a few months ago and I said, oh, this looks so wonderful, but there's no way I can escape. I have my big event coming up in New York. I have so much work to do. I have family responsibilities. So I end up not buying a ticket. And then 10 days before a conference, one of my actually Power of 8 peers calls me. And it was a Monday. And she's saying, I have a ticket for you to the TCCHE conference and you're going. So I knew I had to be there. There was the divine intervention that I needed. So she gave me her ticket because unfortunately she wasn't able to attend any longer. Everything was booked. The hotel was booked. The ticket was there. So I just had to get on a flight to Toronto and get there, which I'm so happy I did. So it was also one of those mystical experiences. But I was able to actually meet Lynne and talk to her about our group, and she just couldn't be happier. She actually recorded a little video for us to encourage us to continue this important work and stay together. So it was just really sweet. Every time you have a chance to meet one of your kind of favorite spiritual teachers in person, it's just such an enlightening experience. And speaking of another important teacher this year that I really discovered, even though I knew of him for many years, but I never got into this work as much up until this year, it's the incredible Bruce Lipton, who also spoke at the TCCHE conference, but was also completely randomly, he hosted a workshop in New York City back in August, and I was also able to attend. So this is how incredible life is. I was able to see Bruce Lipton live in 2 workshops in the span of a month, basically. I'm just so grateful for the universe bringing me to all those magical places, because just learning from Bruce in person, it was just such a profound experience. First of all, the man just is glowing. He's a natural light projector. I don't know how else to explain it. And just the most wonderful, loving man, and humble, and just so supportive and sweet. And his teachings are just so incredibly powerful. And I'm so glad. He actually joked when I told him that I just listened to him in New York when I met him in Toronto. He said, well, you're going to be bored probably. This is how humble he is. And I said, Bruce, I feel like I can listen to you 5 more times, and I need more times to integrate all the wisdom, because he shares so much powerful and profound information, and so much of it needs to be rewired in our brain. As some of you who know what Bruce stands for, but he's really the original father of epigenetics, and his work is just so important and profound on proving that we are the powerful creators of our own health, our own well-being. And we have to really give him the full credit for that. His book, The Biology of Belief, and the workshops and the teachings, the podcast interviews that you can listen to, they are really profound and changing everything that we know about human biology, about healing, about healthcare. He has very strong opinions about some of those topics, but it's really incredible to see somebody who is actually a PhD biologist who, again, just like Lynne, done so many amazing scientific studies that proving the kind of work that you guys do on a daily basis. So I think all those teachers are important because they provide that necessary proof, right? That the society many times is asking us, is this healing working? What does it do for me? How do I know it works? And that's why those incredible master teachers do for us. They give us the evidence, they give us the tools to go back to the world and say, read this study, read this book. This is what actually the biological process that is helping in your brain right now, the neurological process. And this is how this healing works, whether it's energy healing or remote healing or just the power of our mind. So I highly recommend checking out those incredible teachers, and I'm happy that I was able to share those with you. Of course, I also had another incredible opportunity to attend my absolute favorite teacher, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I was able to attend one of his advanced follow-up retreats in Washington, D.C. this summer, which was really transformative experience. But it's really my communities, my people, my tribe. I met so many amazing friends and healers and conferences. And I'm able now to go to those follow-up retreats that are only for people who attended at least one a week-long retreat with Dr. Joe, which means when you come into this room, and they're much shorter, they're not a week long, they're like only a weekend or 4 days, which means when you come into this room with almost 2,000 people that have been to at least one retreat, and most of them been to several, the energy in that room is just undescribable. You just go right in. We don't need time to kind of get into the space, get into the field. We just go right in, and it's just such a powerful experience. To me, it's part of my maintenance to go to those Joe Dispenza retreats at least a couple of times a year. That's my intention. This is really what keeps me on track. This is what keeps me connected to the field, to the community of conscious people who are doing this very important work on this planet in this very important time. And you, my friends, are also, anyone who's listening, especially if you listen so far, it means we're on the same path. We're doing this important work and we believe in the same thing. So I'm just really grateful for having you with me, for listening to this podcast, for being part of the Heallist community, for attending our events. And we're all just blessed to live in this wonderful time. And until next time, the next few episodes we're going to be going back to interviews, but I love doing those solo updates once in a while to keep you posted also on my personal journey. So thank you for listening and for being here. Much love to you all.